Kiriko is without a doubt one of the most hated characters in Overwatch 2. She's up there with Mauga, Roadhog, Widowmaker, and dare I say, Mercy. Content creators complain about her all the time, especially a certain soldier main. And I mean, in the past, I couldn't really blame him. Kiri would come in from the shadows, throw two massive knives directly at your forehead, and poof into thin air before you even knew what map you were playing on. And well, this is kind of where the whole support not healer chant came from, which I do want to touch on later. However, the other day I saw this clip going around on Twitter. A clip from the Twitch streamer August popping off on Baptiste. Now for those of you that don't know who August is, which is quite shocking if you're on this channel, he's a top 500 Kiriko main, and I mean a hard Kiriko main. If you hang out in his stream at all, you'll know that if he's not on Kiriko, chances are he's playing Lucio. In this tweet he states, "Wild how Baptiste flies under the radar while Kiriko gets all the flame for just existing," which really made me question, why does Kiriko get so much hate compared to all the other supports? Pre-season 9, I could definitely understand why Kiriko got a bad rep. A lot of Kiriko's playstyle was the DPS Kiriko playstyle, where she'd constantly be in your backline, trying to 2-tap one of your squishies on the team, or at the very least force out major cooldowns like Baptiste's Slap or Annonade because of the sheer threat that she opposed. Which I mean, rightly so, she could 2-tap majority of the Overwatch costs with 2 well-aimed headshots. And if she ever got low in your backline, she had Suzu, which would cleanse and heal herself to give her even more time to land just 2 shots, and if that failed, she could just TP to safety at any point. So yeah, pre-season 9 I could definitely see why Kiriko got a lot of hate. This is just one end of the stick. She can also completely negate advances by other supports and DPSs like a good anti-nade or even a mag grenade from Cassidy. In the same vein, it's even worse if you're playing somebody like Reinhardt, as she can completely negate ultimates used on her team with a well-placed Suzu. However, I think I have an idea, which I'll touch on later in the video, of how we can fix that. So yeah, we know why Kiriko gets all the flame. She's super strong and was basically a DPS in the support role. So with that being said, why does Baptiste not get the same amount of hate? If we were to compare the two, Baptiste outputs even more damage and more consistent damage at that compared to Kiriko. Has an immortality ability similar to Kiriko's, which lasts a lot longer unless intentionally destroyed, which can buy him even more time to land more shots. Has an AoE heal outside of his immortality, so whilst Kiriko needs to use Suzu to heal herself, Baptiste can use his shift and save his immortality for another opportunity. On top of this, the range at which his shift heals is a lot bigger than Suzu. His ultimate can also allow him to one-shot squishies, and on top of all of this, has a wall climb that doesn't actually need a wall to use. Now I might be biased because I main Kiriko, but let's be honest here. Baptiste is just as worthy of flame as Kiriko. I mean, hell, you don't even have to look farther than the top 500 leaderboard the past couple seasons to see he's just more dominant than Kiriko. So why doesn't he get hate? My theory is because his impact isn't as obvious due to the nature of his kit. Kiriko is in your backline, annoying the hell out of you, in your face forcing those 1v1s. Her kit encourages her to do that, and so you tend to see Kiriko's follow this playstyle. On top of this, you get a certain unranked GM content creator who's built his whole shtick about Kiriko's step-by-step guide around this. In saying all of this though, just because her kit encourages this sort of playstyle doesn't mean Baptiste can't also do this. Baptiste can easily go for a flank jump over the wall using his exo boots, place his ult down and just disintegrate somebody at the start of a fight, whilst also having 2 abilities and also his jump available if things get a little dicey. Another thing on top of this is downtime. Baptiste can shoot 2 rounds of damage and AoE heal his team without any downtime, unlike Kiriko that can't match either the DPS nor the healing cycle during this. Ever since season 9, the way support is being played has definitely been altered. With the introduction to the DPS passive, we're seeing a lot of single target healing heroes like Mercy and Lifeweaver completely booted out of the meta, and are near a throw pick if you look at their pick and win rates in high elo. This means that damage heavy supports like Kiriko, Baptiste, and even Moira are inherently seeing more play. The lack of variety available in the support category isn't helping at all. Characters like Mercy and Lifeweaver aren't just seen as bad characters or subpar picks, but they're actually seen and considered as throw picks in high elo, purely because they're so one-dimensional, and that dimension is really bad right now. But why Baptiste and Moira if Kiriko is just that good? Well, the answer to that? AoE healing. Kiriko is a single target healer, and the only way to AoE heal is to use your Suzu. As we've seen since the implementation of the DPS passive, Kirikos are now using Suzu a lot more for its healing and cleansing of the DPS passive, meaning this once OP ability can be forced out a lot easier, and it's also a lot less likely that she'll have it off cooldown. Before this, Kiriko would easily be able to out-heal the damage being done to her team, waiting for the Jungle Queen ult or crucial 5-man EMP, and immediately cleanse it. Raw damage is now enough to force it out, giving more opportunity to the enemy team to find value with their ultimates, as they should realistically. So we've noticed that since season 9, Suzu has been balanced a bit more indirectly, making it easier to force out, shrinking one of her annoying traits. So what was the other annoying trait? Her ability to 2-tap almost any squishy in the game. Well, funnily enough, that also got removed in Season 9 as they introduced a health increase across the board, meaning Kiriko can now only 2-tap Tracer and Widowmaker, requiring her to land 2 headshots and a body shot to confirm a kill. This greatly impacted Kiriko's pick potential. Accompanied with the DPS passive requiring more healing output overall, this doubly reduced her efficiency on flanks. So now 3 of the main reasons she was seen as annoying have been balanced. All of these Season 9 changes haven't really affected Baptiste much at all. AoE healing is still ideal, as we saw in OWCS with teams running Baptiste and Moira, and with damage still being king for supports, he has the highest DPS out of any of them, on top of his immortality and self-heal and mobility. I know sometimes people just complain to complain, and I'm not here to spread hate to Baptiste or the people who play him. I more so just wish Kiriko didn't have such a bad rep anymore. She's still one of the strongest supports in the game currently and is seen a ton in the OWCS too, purely because of the way the meta is currently. Her ult grants movement speed and CDR, which no other ability in the game does besides Lucio with his speed aura, which by the way is also why he's seen as a top tier pick most of the time. The only thing I could possibly argue for is Suzu still being a bit strong. Meta, I think, definitely plays a big part into why she gets hate. It's hard to remember a time since Kiriko's release that she wasn't a meta pick. With such a versatile kit and such a high skill ceiling, people flock to her over any other support. The reoccurrence of her over and over and over again probably has something to do with all of this. Suzu could use a tad bit more balancing. If you've seen my video on how to counter every ultimate as Kiriko, a lot of the comments were, just use Suzu, forehead. Which, first off, no crap, am I meant to play around an ultimate without using my abilities? But secondly, I do kinda agree sometimes that it does too much to be healthy. It AoE cleanses, it burst heals, it makes you intangible, it's ranged, and hell, it even used to boop enemies. The other day I stumbled on a really good video which gave a great idea of how to balance it, which would be something along the lines of implementing something on direct hit. Similar to how Baptiste's heal heals more on direct impact, maybe a part of Suzu's properties, like the cleanse or the intangibility, or maybe even both, should only be applied to the person directly hit by Suzu. This way it's more of a skill shot and doesn't 100% counter ults like Shatter, as it only saves one person. She also can't Suzu herself to cleanse and will force her to TP to do so. I think she might need a buff elsewhere to compensate, like maybe making her TP heal herself similarly to how it works in the 6v6 custom games, if you guys have ever tried those. But this would be a really interesting thing to trial. A big thing that changed when coming in from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 was how support was handled. Support wasn't the most fun to play back in the day. It was very much an anime rendition of Dead by Daylight, as supports just couldn't defend themselves. When Overwatch 2 came in, supports apart from Zen were actually made a threat. I myself am a big advocate for support not healer. I feel like adding damage capabilities to supports was a much needed feature, and ever since then, supports have become a lot more popular. Just like with everything in life, when something is wrong, we first see an overcorrection and then find the balance later down the line. I feel like when Overwatch 2 came out, the first few seasons, we saw that overcorrection and are now slowly finding that balance, which I think Season 9 has done a fantastic job about, although I do think the DPS passive needs to be tweaked a bit. Earlier, I mentioned how strong of an ability Suzu is and how versatile it can be, but realistically, it's only good if you know what to look out for and are able to master when and how to use it. This video on screen will show you how to counter every ultimate in the game as Kiriko. And finally, if you want to debate me about this topic, I stream on Twitch almost every day and I'll be happy to chat. Peace.